Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name's Benny. We're going to be talking about the Autobahn today. The reason why I chose the Autobahn is I was stationed in Germany for 5 years and did a lot of driving on the Autobahn. We're going to cover the history of the Autobahn, the individual who was appointed by Adolf Hitler to engineer and build the Autobahn, and then we're going to go over the description of the Autobahn, the construction, how many miles it is, and basically how the Germans, or why the Germans built the Autobahn. Finally, we're going to go over the international impact of the Autobahn. Most people don't know that every major highway in the world is based off the Autobahn. Okay? First of all, we're going to go over the history of the Autobahn. The Autobahn was constructed or started construction in 1933 and was ended in May 1935. There are really two reasons why the Autobahn was built. One is after World War I, Germany was in a very bad economical recession. And when Hitler was voted in as Chancellor of Germany, his number one priority was to get the German economy out of the recession. And to do this, he had to create jobs. And what better way to create jobs is socially driven projects like road construction, federal buildings, and so forth. Well, Hitler also had an agenda, was to take back what originally was Germany through military conquest. And to do this, he needed to be able to move his army around. Now, the best way to do this is put the trucks, tanks, and whatnot on the road and put the soldiers walking down the middle of the Autobahn in a grass median. This is what developed the Autobahn as a split highway, usually two lanes going one way and the other two lanes going the other way with the grass median. This was the best way, the fastest way to move his army around for the Blitzkrieg, which is where they move into a country and they take it over within a matter of sometimes hours or days. Hitler had to find an engineer to build the Autobahn, and he came across an individual, Dr. Fritz Todt, T-O-D-T. He served in World War I in the Air Force as an observer, and after World War I, he went to Munich, Germany, where he studied engineering. He was appointed in 1933 by Hitler to build the Autobahn, and it was very easy for him to get this started. His mind was wrapped around building it in sections. He started with the grading of the ground, and then as the grading finished, the grading moved on and they started paving it. Fortunately, he was killed in a plane crash during World War II. So that will cover the history of the Autobahn. Now the description of the Autobahn is also something just as creative. The Autobahn is always 4 lanes divided down the middle by a median. This prevented a lot of situations. One is head-on collisions. The Autobahn also has limited access to get on the Autobahn and off the Autobahn, limiting accidents. And as I said, the Autobahn was built to move an army, so it can handle the large volumes of traffic because of large and numerous military vehicles. Now, if you've ever driven on the Autobahn, as you're driving down the Autobahn, you'll notice there are no direction signs. And for me, this was very hard to get over when I first got over there and started driving around. As in America, you have north, south, east, west. In Germany, they don't have this, even today. And the reason they don't have this is Hitler didn't want to give the Allies the directions to Berlin. He didn't want someone to know that they were going north towards Berlin, the capital of Germany, and where his headquarters was out of. And this hasn't changed. So in order to get around on the Autobahn, you have to be able to know which towns you're passing on your way to your destination. And this brings me to international impact. Before America entered the war with Germany, Eisenhower, who eventually became the Supreme Allied Commander and the President, he was a lieutenant. And Eisenhower, right after World War I, was appointed by Roosevelt to take a convoy of American trucks across America on what is called the Lincoln Highway. This highway was 2 lanes, dirt, no pavement, and it took them to go from the East Coast to the West Coast 75 days. So with this in mind, as the Americans were invited by Hitler to send someone over to see the Autobahn. And Eisenhower was, since he was the officer in charge of this convoy, was the natural pick. So he went over there, he saw the Autobahn and was amazed. But before he can take action or bring the information back, America entered the war. So Eisenhower becoming the Allied commander and moving his army around on the Autobahn as we started to invade Germany and push the Germans out, he realized how easy it was for the army to move around, how little accidents there were, and basically how the Autobahn just made sense. So he came back from World War II and eventually got elected as President of the United States. And in 1953, he instituted the United States Highway Act. And this act was to revamp all of the American highways. So the first thing he did was he went back to when he visited Germany, and as he served in Germany, he told his engineers he wanted to revamp the American highways based off the Autobahn. He wanted a median down separated into 2 lanes, preventing head-on collisions, limited access to get on and get off. That's the exit you see, and you go around the flowers or the clover leaves to get into your destination. And he wanted the pavement to be smooth as possible so you're not fatigued driving long distance. So he did, and as you will notice that all east-west highways are even numbers, north-south are odd numbers, and the higher number of highways are in the south. This was done so people really didn't need a map, they just needed to know what road they were on and what direction they were going, and they can find their way around. So that was probably the main renovation of the American highways. Since then, really no changes have been done, and as I mentioned, every major highway in the world is based off the Autobahn. The construction, the smooth pavement, the limited access on and off. So in conclusion, we went over the Autobahn, how the Autobahn is constructed, the miles of the Autobahn, which is 6,500 miles in total length, the international impact, and the engineer who constructed the Autobahn and how what impact he had on there. I hope this speech was very informative for you and that you learned something about the Autobahn. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.